Um, it has been a minute since I've been on here, and I thank you for giving me that time and space. Um, who am I? If you are new here, I am a wild and warm-hearted wife, mom of 2 special needs kids. Guess I should tell you my name. My name is Natalie. I, like my oldest son, have ADHD, obviously. I am a homeschooler. I am a best-selling author and postpartum doula. I help other moms, quite often also 2E moms, just like me, um, find freedom from overwhelm through personal growth and awareness of what 2E means and how to help their kids and how to help themselves. So if you are here watching live, please comment and tell me where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, please let me know that in the comments so that I can make sure I come back and say hi to you. So we are going to talk about tonight, what does 2E mean and how do I know if my kid is 2E? And then what do I do? Where do I go from there? So I'm going to keep this really quick and short and sweet because I know your time is important. So what does 2E mean? Maybe you've seen some of my posts and you've seen me talk about 2E, or maybe you've never even heard the term. So what 2E means is it's twice exceptional. It's an abbreviation for that. And what twice exceptional means is just means that you have 2 exceptionalities, likely giftedness plus a disability of some sort. Quite often it is a learning disability or disorder, such as ADHD, sensory processing disorder, dysgraphia, dyslexia, autism. So a whole range of different things that it could be. Usually it is coupled with giftedness, and that's where the 2E comes in. So how do I know if my kid is 2E? Maybe you have a really stubborn kid. They are super smart and they drive you crazy because they always want to argue with you or they always want to correct you. These are characteristics that often show up in gifted children because they really are that smart. When my son was in kindergarten, I mean, we always knew that he was super smart, but I didn't really think anything of it. His 1 or 2-year-old teacher was a speech pathologist, had been a speech pathologist or something, and she always commented about how good his language was, but I didn't really think anything of it. He was 2. But when he hit kindergarten, that he started, the teacher identified him as possibly gifted. So the school tested him, and his IQ was like 140 or something crazy like that. And his therapist, because we had already been seeing a therapist at that point for ADHD because we knew from a very young age he was all over the place. His therapist said, well, that's why he always corrects people, and that's why he is always such a challenging kid, because he is usually the smartest person in the room. So, a lot of times, if you have a gifted kid, they really are that smart, and they are very aware of that. So they are going to try to be in charge because they are aware of the fact that they are just that intelligent. Then with the learning disabilities and disorders, trust your gut, mama. You know if something's off. For us, like I said, He was all over the place, climbing all over couches, um, running around like a crazy person. It was a nightmare trying to get him to sleep from a very, very young age because his mind was always going 1,000 miles an hour. Um, and my husband and I both have ADHD, and we knew that it is typically genetic. So we had an idea that he would likely be ADHD too. Now, we didn't know until recently that he also has we assume sensory processing disorder. He hasn't been officially diagnosed. But he definitely has sensory issues. And one of those is the input, which actually explains more the running and jumping and climbing can be a sign of sensory processing disorder, not always. But that heavy sensory input can be why they're doing that, is because they're seeking that. So you've got a really smart, really headstrong kid. If you have a headstrong kid, write headstrong in the comments so I can see that you're here and that what I'm saying is landing. So you have a headstrong kid, and you have a kid that there are just some things going on there. Or you have a kid who is in school and who is so bright, but they're just struggling in school and you can't understand why. Could be because they are gifted and bored. Could likely be because they are 2E and they're not being identified as special needs because their giftedness is covering up whatever other exceptionalities they're having. So you have an idea that you might have a 2E kid. What do you do now? For the learning disabilities and the or learning disorders, a lot of times you can just talk to your pediatrician. A lot of times they'll diagnose them, but not until they're like 4 or 5 at least. A lot of times, same thing with therapists. A lot of therapists won't even see children that are under like 5 or 6 years old. We struggled to find one who would see him when he was 4. Once they get into school, it's so much easier. And that is very often where they get identified as gifted too, is through the school. And you can ask that they be evaluated for giftedness. It depends on your school district. It depends on your school, how they do it. What they did for us was they had the school psychologist for the county evaluate him. I have heard other moms say their kids had to take a test, like a 3-part test, and they had to get a certain score or something in order for them to be identified as gifted. So that's where you start. Once you have an idea that you have a 2E kid, go to your pediatrician, talk to your kid's teacher, or find a psychiatrist. They will often evaluate as well. Those would be the 3 starting points. So if you found this valuable and you want to dig in more, I highly encourage you to join my free group, Clueless to Confident Moms of 2E Kids. The link is in the description, or you can also find it in my bio. I will be having a 3-day free masterclass on what to do once you have a diagnosis for your child, on August 19th through the 21st. I believe each of those classes is going to be at 4 p.m., but there will be a replay if you cannot make it. So please feel free to join the group. The link is in the description, and I hope you have a wonderful night.